Well, thanks for joining us, guys. We might as well get underway. I'm sure there'll be a few more people joining us on the way. Thanks for logging in. This is our second one of these members-only forums that we've held. We had one with Tommy and Dan, of course, about a month ago now, which went really well, and we had such a great time during that one. And thought that we'd get the captains of the club in for a bit of a chat and to answer a few of your questions and see what they've been up to. There's been some exciting news out of rugby this week, of course, with the playing group allowed to return to Brumbies HQ, training in groups of 10 or less, which has been really exciting for the group. And just to introduce our captains too, which I'm sure everyone's aware of, but Jane Garraway and Michaela Leonard, co-captains of the Super W side, and Allan Alaalatoa, the new captain this year from the men's Super Rugby side, and all three of these leaders are first-time leaders this year, so it's very exciting for themselves and also for the club. Let's get straight into it. We've got 40 minutes on here, and if you have any questions, chuck it through on the chat function at the bottom of the Zoom call. We can sort of play it by ear as we go along the way there. But yeah, we may as well get straight into it. Al, the first one from you. Like I just mentioned, we were allowed to see the playing group back at HQ with the government restrictions lifted a little bit in the last fortnight. Most times I've spoken to you over Zoom over the past 7 weeks, you've been dressed in full playing kit, head taped, ready to go. Like, you haven't been able to get out of your boots. I want to know, like, what was that feeling like when you were skipping into HQ a couple of days ago?
Yeah, it was unreal. It was unreal, eh? Obviously we haven't seen the boys or the coaching staff in almost 2 months. So when you first see them, you just want to give each other a hug or, just have your special handshake, but you're not even allowed to do that. But I guess, we've got to be grateful for, even coming together and staying in groups of 10. But the training has already gone on the way. We had a good training session today with some hard fitness and some ball skills. Obviously, with the restrictions that we have, we have to keep following. But I think just to get together again with the boys has been an unreal feeling.
What was some of the new? I know that like that first day on Monday, there are a few different education and protocols courses. What's changed in terms of getting in and out of the facility and stuff like that? This time around now that you're back in.
Yeah, mate. There's a lot. You can only walk through one entry, which is the main doors. And to go through that, you need to get your temperature checked. You need to go through a hand sanitizer and then wipe down your phone. And then you're waiting with your group in this sort of lobby area where you have access to stretching or physio. And then you're waiting for the guys in the gym to exit through the back door and work their way around the field. And then your team then has access to the gym. So it's kind of all put in a way where you don't cross over or, you don't get tempted to just high-five each other. But, you can still see each other and give each other hand signals, which has been great. And
tell us the truth. We know you're all rugby professionals. Was it, how was the fitness testing?
Mate, it was hard. It was hard. But a lot of our boys came back in good nick, which is good. But you can tell a lot of our boys have just been doing some road runs. I think everyone's just trying to stay healthy more than anything. But we have a good 8-week block now to get right. And hopefully play in July.
Yeah, looking forward to it, no doubt. Mac, we'll come to you now. Obviously, a really disappointing end to the season for the Super W side, just in the fact that we didn't get to see that 2v3 playoff. It looks like you guys have been training really hard away from the field and staying connected. What was that feeling like, I suppose, the disappointed nature of the way that the season ended for you and the team?
Yeah. It's hard to describe. It was really disappointing, obviously. We wanted to play it out, and going into a semi-final, you're just that much closer to the big dance. And our game had been coming together well. We'd been winning set piece. The backs had been moving the ball around really well. And it was all starting to come together. And I think with such a short season as it is, those last games, things do improve. And we knew we were on the right track. And I think the game against Queensland the week before, it was pretty positive, and we all sort of felt like we could go into the semi-final and come away with a win. So really disappointing, but hopefully we'll get the chance again next year and take it all the way through to the grand final.
Yeah, I was going to ask, does it give you a little bit of a burning motivation to, just bring on 2021?
Yeah, definitely. I think seeing some of the TARS girls posting about three in a row and undefeated, and it really sparks a fire. You don't want to see that, and we want to challenge them, and we want to put our name up there and to put our foot forward as well. So definitely going into next year, and we definitely want to knock TARS out of the park, knock them off the top, and hopefully take over Queensland as well.
Yeah, we all can't wait to see that. Don't worry, we're all hanging on for that one next year. Jane, we'll come to you now. Like we mentioned before, training hard away from the ground at the moment. What kind of stuff have you and the girls been doing, training wise, and also just to stay connected?
Yeah, well, I think originally when restrictions got put in place, they were put in place with the plan to come back and finish off our season later on in May. So that first restrictions that when they got put in place, the girls were really motivated. Definitely semi-finals, having a crack at that on that later day in May, and having a go at like Max said, at the big dance, were definitely things that motivated the girls to really stay connected and stay together. Obviously, things changed when the season got ultimately cancelled. But I was really happy that we all still remain connected. I think, like what Max said, the biggest thing for us is that the way that our season ended really, really puts fire in our belly. It really makes us want to start off next season with a bang and go out really heavy. So I guess for us, it's been more of an individual program, as in individual running, and sharing that in group chats and keeping each other accountable and motivating like that. And obviously we've got strength and conditioning programs, which range from anything that you have, if you have a home gym or things like that, or going back to body weighted circuits and things like that. But like what Max said, I think the way that we've been training during this time has been really built on that want to come back next year, because it obviously wasn't how we wanted to end this season.
Yeah, definitely, no doubt. Everyone could see you guys were heading in a really strong direction at the right time of the year. Al, back to you very quickly. We saw in the last game the last game that we played against the Waratahs that you busted your arm. A few of the fans and the supporters and members out there are wondering how your recovery's going, and will you possibly be the first man ever to break an arm halfway through a season and not miss a game? And you'll have to take yourself off mute. You got yourself on mute. Hang on.
Mate, it said that you muted me. I thought you already said me already. I really said
Sorry,
one thing.
My fault.
Yeah, I think from breaking my arm, I think there's a silver lining for myself with everything that's going on. Probably the only one that's broken the arm and won't miss a rugby game. But the recovery has been going well. I'm on 7 weeks now. I don't know if you can see there's a good scar on my arm, which is I don't think my camera's up to scratch, but you can't really see it. Yeah, but it's on track. So if we were, say, to have a game this weekend, I would be available to play. So I think we're just taking the conservative approach at the moment. We've got a bit of time on our hands, just to make sure that it's concrete. Yeah,
and how's with your rehabbers? We know that you live with Lockie McCaffrey, and he's just got some new property out there.
Here he is. Look at him. Look at him.
Has he?
Look at him. He's bringing me treats.
Oh, come on, Lockie, put it away. That's enough.
He's just.
Has he been putting you to work on the new property?
Yeah, there's a few things I do around the farm, mate. Just feed the horses and stuff like that. But it's my first time that I'm actually living on a farm. I'm normally a city boy. Pretty sure Mac can tell her stories. But yeah, I've only been on the property for a couple of months, and he's only got 40 acres, but it's a very nice place. But yeah, just still learning my way around the joint.
Finally, a chance to wear your R.M. Williams without a suit attached to them, hey mate.
Exactly, mate. And I just got to go purchase myself a little cowboy hat.
Very
But I
good.
don't think the horse can take my weight though, so that's the only thing.
Very good. Mac, we have to ask, coming back to you very quickly, a bit of news out of Rugby Australia late today regarding a look into women's rugby and how it has been affected by the COVID-19. With obviously the Olympics being shifted to next year now, that falls in line with the Women's Rugby World Cup being played in New Zealand. What do you know about that? What do you know about that sort of, that chat that Rugby Australia are having? And when will we see you lace up in the sevens in your pursuit of Tokyo?
So in terms of what I know at the moment, it's not much more than the announcement and what was released today regarding the postponement of the Aon series. There is a discussion organised with some of the big bosses of Rugby Australia and representatives from both 15s and 7s early next week. So hopefully that'll shed some more light on what the plans are, what some of the changes might be, and how both the sort of big tournaments will run concurrently. But I think in some ways, much as it's a disappointment, I'm sure, for all of the Sevens girls for the postponement, I think it's also exciting because it'll be a really big year for women's rugby. And I think a lot of opportunity for publicity and advertisement around both the 15s game and the Sevens game. I think it'll be really tough trying to fit in my training for both. I think the sprint training is definitely going to take up a lot of my time. I've probably got to take a solid 15 seconds off my 100-metre sprint, but we'll see how we go. And hopefully, it'll be a really big, exciting year.
Yeah, no doubt. We just got a message come through on our Zoom chat here from Keith, who's watching on, and he says, I hope Cookie isn't retiring just yet. I don't think there's any danger of that, Keith. She's going to outlive us all at Brumbies.
Look, I don't think Cookie will retire until we drag her off the field, and I wouldn't be surprised if she was out there training for the Olympics for sevens as well.
Well, let's hope so. Fingers crossed. What about you, Jane? Any pursuit for the sevens?
I'm in a similar boat to Mac. I think I'd need some heavy and vigorous sprint training before anything like that would happen. But, there's time and a lot of people in isolation and not training. So, who knows?
What about you, Al? You ever pulled on the sevens jersey?
Yeah, mate. I've got some stuff going on in the background, mate. No way, mate. No way. I just struggle. I struggle in the 15s game, mate.
Please, we love watching you run around in the Brumbies jersey and the Wallabies jersey, of course. Jano, swinging back to you, one of our members, Caitlin in Bruce, wants to know, do you have any pre-game routines and potentially superstitions?
Yes, I do have a couple of pre-game routines. I'm super organised and methodical person. So the night before, I lay everything out on my bed, all my kit, make sure I have everything and make sure it's all nice and fresh. And then I always wash my hair the night before and make sure the first thing I do in the morning is I get it braided and have it all organised because I don't like feeling rushed. And then usually when we meet up with the girls and we have some lunch and then we have some downtime, I always watch an episode of Grey's Anatomy. I don't like thinking about rugby. I like to switch off and do something like that. And then in terms of superstitions, I always put on my left boot first. It's a must.
What's your favourite episode of Grey's Anatomy?
Or seasons? All seasons. It really just depends. But I like the earlier on episodes before no one's really left the show.
Very good. What about you, Mac? Do you have any pre-game routines, superstitions that you need to make sure you get through on game day?
I think I'm a bit like Jane. I like to not think about footy too much. So just hanging around the girls, staying pretty relaxed. I stupidly let on that I know how to braid hair. So probably spend a solid hour doing that on game day. I'll try and have a nap at least 20 minutes before I play, and then closer to game day, I'll pop my headphones on and have a bit of quiet time. But I think I've also worn the same brown undies for every game for the past year. So not sure what I'll do when one of those gets a hole in them, but that's my routine so far.
Very good. Very good. What about you, Al? Anything for you?
Yeah, I'm similar to the girls. I like to stay away from rugby as much as I can. Right up until we go to the AIS and get ready. So the morning of the game, we try and wake up as late as possible, depending on if it's a night game. If it's a away game, then you try and hang with the boys. You know, you're playing cards, you're staying real relaxed. If it's a home game, your family's around, then I'll probably duck out and have a feed with them for breakfast. And then, I'm watching Netflix and having a nap during the day. And then I'll make my way to AIS and then start and then get the ball rolling. But I'm similar to Jane. I put my left boot on before my right boot, and then I'll say a prayer and then just go and rip in. So that's it for me.
A lot of napping going on there. Does it feel like a long day sometimes with those late kickoffs?
A lot of napping. Now, make sure that the room's dark, everyone's out, and it's just me. It's 2 hours. I try and hit 2 hours.
Gee, I'm glad we're not live streaming that. It'd be a pretty long live stream, that one. I'll ask you too, just while I'm on you, Gary Kelly of Hawker, he has a question about the competition and where we're at with our footy. Do you know if a domestic competition, including the Western Force, has been locked in yet? And if it has, or even if it hasn't, is there a possibility that we might see a final series against New Zealand still this year?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what we know as players is that there's 2 drafts that have been put out there, mainly based around a domestic comp, which I'm sure everyone here knows. And that's involving the Western Force, which is one of the drafts, and then the other draft is involving the Western Force and the Sunwolves. So I think with the situation that we're in at the moment, we can only plan a domestic comp. But I'm sure if the bubble does open and we get to connect with the New Zealand country, then I'm sure that people who are put in charge there will decide on that. But I think they'll probably lead towards more of a Bledisloe. But I think the Trans-Tasman final series would be awesome, and I think that's definitely something that everyone would love to see. Yeah,
a question that came through too, and the member escapes me now, but if that does happen, it's a good chance to catch up with your brother Michael, who's of course is playing over there in New Zealand.
Yeah, it is. He just had a newborn as well, so obviously he's just been restricted in terms of travel. So just waiting for that bubble to open up, and then we'll just go shoot over and hopefully get the opportunity to meet the little Neff. Yeah,
your parents must be stinging to get over there, hey, and have a hold.
Yeah, they are. They had to figure out how to use FaceTime, mate. It was a torture, but they're getting there.
Yeah, they'll be on Zoom in a minute. Everyone's working out Zoom. It'll be easy for them. We've had a couple of people join in the last little bit. If you have any questions come through or things come to mind that you want Jane, Michaela, or Alan to answer, use that chat function on the bottom of the Zoom chat, and we'll do our best to get through as many as we can. This one's back to you, Mac. And we might get all three of you to sort of ask about this, but as first-time leaders on the field and captains, what's your process for, when things are going 100 miles an hour on the field and things are happening all the time from everywhere? What's your process for staying calm and collected? And how do you try and communicate when you're talking with the referee?
Yeah, good question. I think I'm not the type of person to get really worked up and fiery anyway. So for me, it's not too much of a challenge to get to much of a brain explosion on the field. I think I just try and take it as it is and as the game's going. So think about what's happening at the moment, what's happening with my role, and look at it that way rather than getting too caught up in the game as a whole. In terms of communication, I like to try and stay pretty polite. You want to stay on the good side and keep that channel with the ref respectful. But luckily for me, I've also got Jane there who does a lot of the chatting during the game, which is really helpful. And I think that's what she's really strong at. So give that to her as much as possible. And if I do need to chat, just trying to keep it respectful and try and keep it open and make sure that it's a really sort of two-way communication and that I'm feeding back to the players whatever the ref wants to hear and just making sure to raise anything we need to get through at the right times.
For those that might not know, Jane is not only our scrum half and co-captain, but also a lawyer extraordinaire by day. So, Jane, do you use your legal prowess to get in touch with the referee during the game?
I would say yes and no. I think one thing we've always got to remember is that the ref probably has the toughest position on the field. They've probably got 30 people with their own opinions that that they've got to manage and work through as well. So I think one of the biggest things, I guess, is letting the ref do their job, and understanding that, that they might miss a few things, but I'm sure you've also missed those things as well. Like you probably think that your team is doing the right thing all the time. So I think that's something that you've always got to remember. But in terms of how you approach it and things like that, I think you've got to let the ref control the game, and you've got to let them, you've got to let them control the game. And I think choose your moments and when you want to approach them. If it does come to the second or third or fourth time that you've noticed something that they haven't picked up, you can always approach the ref, but definitely choose your moments. Choose when the stoppage in play is that you want to speak to them, and choose which battles to fight and which ones to just let go.
Yeah, it's good insight. We know that's a really key thing for captains and leaders to think about on the field. What about for you, Al, in Super Rugby, and you've been the vice captain of the Wallabies in the past? We know every time there's a penalty that you call for a scrum without even thinking where we are on the field. But what other things go through your mind out there as a skipper?
Yeah, I think for me to stay calm, one of my main things is to take a breath. Especially before I deliver a message, whether we've scored a try or for any stoppage in play. I think for myself is just to take a breath, whether it's just me or whether it's with the boys. I think I find that helps me reset. You only get given around 10 to 20 seconds to deliver a message, and you want to make sure that it's effective and it's simple. And I think for myself to get that in my head, I need a reset, and then I find that taking a breath helps me in that way. In terms of talking to the ref, I'm still growing in that area. I've always been a player that's just talks too much, or just in the background yelling at him. But now it's about trying to build that relationship, throughout the game, and just making sure, that you try and hold him accountable, but not doing it in the wrong way.
What about as captains too? I guess you get the privilege and the honour to run the team out onto the field, no matter where you are. But how special is that at GIO, especially to be? I mean, it's a question for any of you, but to be the one in the front leading the group out.
I'll let you answer first.
Who's going? You, Jane?
Matt can go first.
I think it's a great honour, and it's really exciting. I think being at home just adds that extra element of excitement. You're in front of people, you're in front of your family, you're in front of your friends, and you're at your home stadium and the place you want to do well and do everyone there proud. Jane and I think we have the fight before every game, telling each other that they're the one that's going to run out first. But every time you get that opportunity, it's something you really take with pride, and to be able to lead the girls out, it's exciting and it's fun, and I look forward to it each game day.
Is that the same for you, Jane? Sums
Yeah.
up?
So pretty much what Max said. We often have a fight about pushing the other one out first, and something along those lines. But just like Max said, it's really an honour, and I think it's even more special at the home games, just because it is at GIO. It's in front of your friends and family. It's in front of other people who have the love for the game, and particular love for the Brumbies. So that really is special.
Al, what about when I guess a question for any of you too, but for Al, do you know who's behind you? Like, is it always the same person, or is there an order? Like, how do you work out who's going when?
Yeah, for myself, it's always in order. It goes Scotty, Lau, and then I don't know who else is behind that. We've always gone loose head, hooker, tight head, prop. So I've always been the fourth, and then whoever's behind us is just whoever gets out first. But yeah, it's always gone captain, Scotty, and then hooker, and then tight head. So
there you go. Because you guys are the front row, so you're always looking forward anyway. You never know what's going on back there. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I guess it makes sense.
The boys always lead from the front, so he's makes sense.
Yeah, it's very true, very true. A question for you, Mac, that comes from Dot Hepburn of Crow's Nest. What was the impact on the team of the scheduling of the games as double headers this season? obviously all of your home and away games were played as double headers with the Super Rugby games after. Did you enjoy how that worked, and what was that like?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I think we were really fortunate this year that all of our games were played as double headers. I think it builds the excitement around our game. We often find that we'll get more people out to watch the game, which is good. More awareness around the game, advertising alongside them, and the opportunity to play at stadiums such as GIO and Suncorp and all those sorts of places throughout the last couple of seasons is often another perk of playing alongside the men. You often get access to those better venues. But it's also, I think it brings more of a Brumbies family feel to it, both being at the same stadium, same night. We're both there for the same competition. We get to catch part of each other's game and be there to provide support as well. So I think that's always a nice part of having a double header. And so that's really exciting. But I think, just that awareness, that publicity around it when we play alongside the men is a real bonus as well. And hopefully our games as standalones will get that big in the coming years as well.
For sure. What about for you guys, when you guys arrive at the ground and the Super W side's out there, do you notice what's happening? Do you feel a different buzz when it's like that as opposed to when it's just a game for you guys?
Yeah, we do. Obviously we, see each other at training and that, but it's awesome, when we're seeing them play at GIO Stadium. It's obviously the home of the Brumbies, and that includes both teams, so to arrive at the stadium and, you get to watch a little snippet of them representing the Brumbies is awesome.
Yeah, great. I've got another one here that's a cracking question. It's for everyone, so maybe we'll go. Mac, you went first last time, so Jane, you got to step up to the plate here and go first on this one. It's for everyone, but everyone get a go. It's from Brian Lenthal of Fraser. If you could change one law of the game, what would it be and why?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think I'd go back to an old law that got changed a few years ago, which was the one-on-one tackle and the pilfer around it. So it used to be one-on-one tackle. The tackler could get to their feet and go for the ball in any direction. There was no gate or anything like that. Obviously, that got changed a few years back that, the tackler has to come back from an onside position and go through the gate and get the ball that way. I really think that law should be back to how it was. I think it gives those speedsters who chase down those wingers and make those one-on-one tackle. It gives them a reward for making that tackle, I think, and it makes everyone else work a bit harder because then you've got to be more in that support role so that doesn't happen. Those turnovers don't happen. So I think I'd love to see that law come back.
Nice one. Al, what do you got for us?
I've fired the power. I'll probably change maybe the mark. So when someone kicks into the 22, there will be no mark option. So the fullback can't say mark, then make it a stoppage in play. It goes into short arm. The fullback can then just kick it out, or it can take a tap and run. But I think when you take the mark out, it just continues to play. It allows tactical kicking, which I think a lot of teams will use if that mark did get taken out. And I think that's probably the difference between NRL and rugby at the moment.
Yeah, I saw it today too that the World Rugby announced a law change to the try against the pad. As of now, that's been taken out. So there's a very topical question come through there. And what have you got, Mac? What's one that you'd like to see looked at?
Well, look, Marty, I haven't been around rugby long, so I'd be lying if I told you I knew what all the laws were as they are. But for me, I think I would just get rid of the yellow card for an intentional knock on. I think it'd be more exciting to see people having a crack at those sort of loose passes and being willing to sort of try and get a hand on it and take off. And I think just around the women's game as well, at the moment as it stands, hair contact is a head high. And I think that's a law that probably needs to be reviewed, given that a lot of women have longer hair that hangs halfway down their jersey, and you might be going for sort of a jersey grab or a tackle or trying to get a hold of someone there and accidentally grab a handful of hair and could end up in the bin. So that's probably one that needs to be reviewed in our game as well. Yeah,
good idea. So it's a very good question. Very good answer. Sorry. Just had a question come through on the chat, and just so everyone's aware, we've only got 5 minutes left on here on this Zoom account, and it's going to shut us off completely, but we'll keep going as far as we can. Alan, this one comes from Alwyn. He wants to know, going back to the Rugby World Cup in Japan last year, who was the toughest opponent you came up against in the front row, and the toughest forward pack overall, and why?
In the World Cup, was that?
Yeah, that's the question in the World Cup. Or if you have someone that you didn't play in the World Cup, then I'm sure that would be a great answer to.
Yeah, I'd say for the World Cup, probably the toughest opponent was Marco Vunipola. He plays for England. He's obviously a veteran and he's been around for a while, and he has a few tricks up his sleeve. So I think I found them really tough. Their pack was a huge test for us, but I felt that our scrum held our own that game, which was great. But in terms of the World Cup, going up against Marco was a huge challenge.
Yeah, that was a tough game all around that one. And we had another one come in from Andrew Billows to everyone. And, I mean, this question, we all know the answer to this one, Andrew, but do you feel the Brumbies are getting the recognition they deserve as the best rugby side in Australia? Of course not. We don't get enough recognition. We need more. We want more. We'll get more. It'll come there, no doubt. And another question that's come through from Kevin, it's to Alan, but I guess to anyone too. Like when you're coming up against the referee for your game, do you approach different referees differently? Mac, do you notice if you have a different approach to different referees, or whether it's sort of the same blanket for all of them?
Yeah, I think you do have to take it as it comes game by game, and depending on who the referee is. Obviously, some are more approachable or willing to hear what you've got to say than others. So you play it by ear, and you pick who you talk to and when you talk to them.
Same for you, Al, and the Super Rugby guys too?
Yeah, it is. Obviously as a captain, that's probably one of the new things I had to learn this year was trying to understand the ref before the game's played, how they operate, what penalties do they give away the most, what do they let go, all these little things that we do our homework on before the game.
Excellent. Guys, we are really ticking down for the last couple of minutes here, so I might try and wrap it up there. I'd really appreciate everyone sort of tuning in and, just being involved and participating. I mean, all the questions come from you guys, and we want to know what you guys want to know. So it's great. And apologies to anyone who was on early enough to see Lockie McCaffrey. Obviously, he'll be doing some extra running sessions this week, no doubt. So, guys, we'll try and keep these going as we go. Obviously, things are getting closer to being back on the paddock, and we'll be updating you as much as we can through our social channels and on our website too. Don't forget too, the all-time Brumbies 15 Super Rugby vote is on at the moment. Al, tomorrow, I'm only hazarding a guess here though, we're going to see Jeremy Paul up against Stephen Moore as the hookers. Who do you three think is going to take out that position? Jeremy Paul or Stephen Moore?
I'm going to say Stephen Moore.
Matt?
Oh, look, I probably don't know enough to comment. I'm sorry.
Jane? Oh, no, I think you're on mute. We lost you. Thumb up for Stephen Moore, thumb down for Jeremy Paul. Stephen Moore, two Stephen Moore. There we go. And there might be a bloke on this screen who might be up for the tight head spot too. He might be an absolute shoo-in next to Scotty CO, who was voted in. Thanks, everyone, for coming in. That was great. And we'll speak to you all again soon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.